Hello, I'm Kaylee Batesman, the Content Director at She Can Code, and today we're discussing unleashing AI, navigating the evolution from engineer to tech executive. In this episode, we're going to uncover why specialist hardware is crucial for the advancement of AI and gain valuable insights into lessons learned along the way. Now, from the trenches of engineering to the strategic decisions of tech executives, I have fantastic Helen Byrne, VP Solution Architect at Graphcore, who is here with me today to share her own compelling career journey through the landscape of artificial intelligence. Welcome, Helen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure to have you on here to talk about this topic. I know a lot of our community are really interested in the topic of AI, how to get into it, what it's like to work in. So I'm so pleased that you are here to talk about your own journey as well, and a little bit about your work at Graphcore. So we're going to kick off. Can we set the scene a little bit with a little bit of background about yourself and how you got into tech, just to kind of set the scene a little bit, and give our listeners a bit of context.
Sure. So I had, I guess, what I would call a fairly non-conventional journey in terms of I didn't do kind of computer science, electrical engineering and go straight into tech. I studied maths at university. I then went on and did there's a graduate program called Teach First. Many people might know it or not, but it's a program that takes graduates and gets them into teaching. So I ended up teaching secondary school maths for a few years up in Yorkshire. And then I went from that to a kind of banking job. I decided teaching was far too hard work. For me, it was really challenging, amazingly rewarding, but it was a really tough challenge, and I wanted to try something else. So I went into kind of more of a banking job where I was working for a kind of fintech division at a big brokers firm, trading CDS, credit default swaps. That was a short time, and then I decided, actually, I don't want to do this. I don't want to work in finance anymore. And I went and did a master in AI. So I started getting interested in tech. This was how many years ago now? Nearly 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And artificial intelligence was kind of something that was starting to interest me. I was reading more about it, and I went and did a master in AI. And then I went into AI research from there. So I tried a few different things. I'd say that it's benefited me. It's kind of non-linear, but I don't think it's a bad thing. And then I fell into Graphcore. So I started in AI research, which was really fun and loved that. And then I moved over to the kind of more customer-facing technical engineering roles. And now I've kind of, I basically lead that group now today.
Amazing. And it's lovely that you mentioned non-linear, and we hear that so often. And also that you mentioned that you started off in a completely different background and decided to move into tech, which is something that we really advocate here at She Can Code, and that more ladies that work in tech should know that you can move into tech at any stage of your career, and that it is open to everybody, and that you yourself you went back and studied in a particular area, but a lot of our ladies don't do that. So it's nice to hear as well the different ways that people retrain to come into the tech industry, and that it is open to them. But AI is it's considered quite a technical kind of subject. What was it about AI that kind of really drew you to it?
So my background was maths, and AI is kind of just maths, really. Pattern matching functions. So I was interested from that background, from the mathematical background. But we have people that have done all different subjects who work in AI. Lots of technical people, lots of computer scientists, but neuroscientists, like physicists, mathematicians, and then all different as well. I know someone who studied graphic design and works in AI. So yeah, I was interested in it just because of, I could see a few years ago kind of how it was or could have started to kind of change the world, and was doing really, I was just really excited by what we could do with it. And actually, weirdly, I went to an art exhibition about 10 years ago, which was called Humans, and it was about AI and humans, but it was art, like an exhibition. So it really was kind of coming at it from a different perspective, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, and a creative perspective as well. So you don't always think of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it must have
I
been
think you do now. People are more and more now as well, really seeing the creative. And it wasn't particularly the bit that drew me in, the creative side, but now it's really huge. The creative side of AI and what people are doing, what it's doing to the creative industries is quite amazing.
Yes, definitely. And can you tell us a little bit about your journey as well, from an engineer to a tech executive in the AI industry? How did that happen?
So I think I was very lucky at Graphcore that they were very supportive of me to kind of make that transition. And so I always enjoyed kind of leadership type roles. I think I was quite, I mean, when I was a teacher, I was kind of naturally used to kind of presenting an idea and sort of trying to lead people into a certain direction. And so I always kind of wanted, I think, naturally to kind of do those kind of roles. At Graphcore, we were a startup. Everyone kind of has to muck in and do a lot of different things. So I felt like I got quite a well-rounded experience. I was able to collaborate and work with a lot of different teams across the company. So I felt like I knew a lot of different people and could learn from them. And they were really supportive to kind of help me to move into more of a leadership position here. So I've had a few different roles here since I've been here 5.5 years. And now, yeah, I'm, I guess, lucky to be able to work in a leadership position here. Yeah.
Amazing. Yes, Graphcore is a very supportive employer as well, and you're not the first person that I've heard that has said that they have progressed through the ranks, and they are really good at retaining their employees. And you sound like another one as well. Dare I ask, what does an average day look like for you? Is there an average day for you?
I don't know about an average day. I guess. In terms of how I spend my time, I spend quite a lot of my time, I don't know, a third of my time, sort of speaking to users of AI, or customers of ours, or potential customers of ours, people that are building AI models and requiring AI compute, and just trying to understand what they're building, what are their problems, compute bottlenecks, how can we map what they're doing to Graphcore's technology, how can we make what they're doing run more efficiently. So I travel quite a lot to present actually at conferences and events, and also to meet these kind of end users and customers. So that's kind of a large part of my job, is this kind of meeting people, talking to people, and working out finding out what their problems are and trying to find solutions for them. Another large part of my job is obviously managing a team, coordinating priorities within the team, what we should be working on, feeding back to the rest of the company, and trying to collaborate with them. And then the kind of other part of my job is really the kind of the practical kind of problem solving side. So taking AI models from a customer, mapping that to the software that we support so it runs on our hardware, then optimizing these models, benchmarking the models, so kind of the problem solving side, which is the real kind of engineering piece. That's yeah, the kind of the last third. I'm not sure if it's a third, but it's that kind of split, I'd say.
Did you think your day was going to be that varied when you were retraining in AI? Did you have kind of an idea of what it was going to look like?
I don't think you can ever, I can never, I find it very abstract to try and work out what a day is going to look like. Even if someone explains it to me, I still can't really kind of envision it until I'm doing it. So no, I don't think I really even thought too much about it. I just wanted to make sure I was doing something that I thought I would find interesting and would maintain interested in the future, so that I'm just, because that's what kind of keeps you coming back to work and keeps you wanting to come to work and enjoying work, and you spend most of your life at work. So I was interested in the space, in the industry, and thought that I'm sure there'll be I'll continually find interesting problems to solve in the future. So that's what I was looking for, I guess.
Yes, yeah, I love that. And we're going to talk today a little bit about specialized hardware for AI. Why do we need specialized hardware for AI, and what challenges does traditional hardware face in meeting the demands of AI workloads?
So why do we need specialized hardware? So AI is such a huge market, and it requires huge amounts of compute. So I'm sure everyone knows this. It's kind of in the press now. It's not just for the people that work in AI that know this and understand this, but these models take the big ones that are in the press, the chat GPTs, they take tens of thousands of processors, months to train a model. So the kind of the enormity of the compute is just crazy. And then that's just to train the model, then it's deployed and it's just running consistently. When people are sending queries, these models are just deployed and running. And so the amount of compute is I think, yeah, it is vast. So that's kind of why design hardware specifically for AI? Well, the compute is huge, and let's try and make it more efficient. So that's, I guess, the reason behind why you would want to design specialized hardware for AI. So you want to make it more efficient. You want to try and reduce the training time, reduce the power consumption, make the models run faster. So that's kind of the inspiration behind the design of Graphcore. There's many different design choices that can be made for specialized hardware versus something that's more general. So a general computer has to do many things well. A specialized computer can do a very much narrower set of tasks much more efficiently in a much better way. So for example, for AI models, the precision of the arithmetic that you're doing is, well, it's considered low precision. So we're actually using as few as 8 bits in our arithmetic in these AI models today. A few years ago, we were using 32 bits, and traditional HPC kind of high performance computing uses double. So it's kind of, what's that, 8 times more bits to that you need to represent the data that you're using. So what you can do with specialized hardware is you can kind of throw away all of the area, the die space that you would need for that very high precision arithmetic, and just focus on the low precision arithmetic, because we know that that's all we need. So it's like design choices for a narrower scope of workloads, so you can just make those more efficient.
You mentioned a little bit about how AI is seen in the press, and how we're viewing that as people that don't work in AI, how that is coming across. So as AI technology advances ethical considerations become more prominent. How do you address ethical concerns in development and deployment of specialized AI hardware?
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm really happy to see that the AI safety conversation is becoming bigger and it's becoming more mainstream, and lots of people are getting involved. I think that it's such a huge landscape and we need lots of people involved, not just AI people and not just politicians, but people from all different backgrounds, like diversity, again, very important here. What do we do at Graphcore? So Graphcore, we build the hardware that you can run AI models on. So we're definitely a part of the ecosystem, and because of that, we certainly want to be involved in the conversation of what can we do to ensure that the AI that's run on our hardware is not going to be run for harmful purposes. So, for example, we can't sell, we're export restricted, but we don't sell to certain countries or certain organizations where we believe that they will use the technology for harm. And in addition to that, we're kind of trying to be as involved as we can in the kind of big progression that's happening right now into the conversation of building legislation, and so our CEO attended the AI Safety Summit at Bletchley Park last week, that was organised by by the UK government, and so we're kind of staying involved, and very much something that we're really interested in. I'm personally really interested in kind of being involved and seeing what happens, and hopefully there'll be a lot more funding. I think there needs to be more funding. I don't know what the percentage is, but it's tiny, the percentage of funding that actually goes into AI safety research versus improving these models. So it needs more funding and more people and more diverse people involved as well.
So what do you envision for the future of AI hardware, and are there emerging trends or technologies that you believe will significantly impact the field? You mentioned safety, obviously, is a big one there. Is there anything else that you think will really impact the field of AI?
So the really big challenge with building, designing, manufacturing hardware for AI is that the industry of AI is moving at rocket speed, lightning speed, and it really is every week. There's big news, there's big ideas that are being published that are showing big changes to kind of where these models are going. So we've got this lightning speed industry, and then you've got the kind of, on the flip side, the cadence for designing and manufacturing hardware is a couple of years. So it's a really fun, difficult challenge to predict where the models are going, where the industry is going, because we're trying to design for 2 years ahead and it changes week by week.
Yes.
It's fun. Having said that, so yeah, I think so. Something that has happened, I guess, in the last few years that we didn't really predict, or I certainly didn't predict, is the scale of the models that we're seeing. So I don't know whether that's going to continue. One of the kind of areas that has come up, it was sort of leaked as potentially the architecture for GPT-4 is this kind of mixture of experts. It's called model architecture, where you have a number of experts within your model, and your model is sparsely activated. Anyway, I won't go into too much detail, but the architecture looks quite different to these big dense models that we are used to using today. And this we have to always think about this, because this, when you're designing hardware, you're trying to work out what's the model going to look like, and then how do I build hardware that accelerates that. So I guess one thing is memory size. Like, the models are big, they're getting bigger. We're going to need large capacity memory, and the memory needs to be accessed as fast as possible. That's something that I think it is going to continue. But yeah, that's a lot, that question. I mean, that's what we're trying to work out, and we're trying to design for, and it's a challenge, but it's fun to work in a space where it does change so much and so rapidly, and you're always trying to predict and work out what's going to happen next.
Yes, yeah, it does sound, when you compare the two, actually, that the industry is moving at lightning speed, but as you said, hardware takes a lot longer time. And you said up to 2 years it can take that amount of time. I mean, you must develop yourself as well. You must have to keep up with all of the new things that are happening as well, and then you have to try and factor that into your project. I mean, that takes a certain type of person, surely, to have to keep up with all of those new updates that are happening so fast in the industry.
I really enjoy that, though. That's like why I really love it, I think. So I do genuinely enjoy just the fact that it moves fast, the fact that it's constantly changing, the fact that you have to keep learning. New ideas are being published, and then a couple of weeks later it's just in production in all of these different models, and you have to keep on top of that. And I think that's one of the kind of fun things about working in this space. So I think it's a plus.
And for our listeners as well, for any aspiring engineers that are interested in AI hardware, what advice do you have based on your own experiences for them? Are there any skills or mindsets that are particularly valuable in this field?
So I didn't come from the background of AI hardware, should we say. I came from the AI. I would say that, like I said before, I think that you don't have to take a linear kind of standard path. You should do things that are interesting to you, so that you can just learn and enjoy what you're doing. I think being interested in problem solving is probably quite a useful interest and skill to work in this space. But I do think that we need people with different skills, different backgrounds. I really believe that that's how we kind of can create great teams and do really great stuff. So I think if anyone has an interest in the space, then that's really that's the starting point.
Yeah, it can feel quite intimidating, I suppose, for some people, thinking, you know what, I would love to go into that area, but I have a completely different background and it just doesn't sound like it's for me. And I love the fact that we get to share so many stories at She Can Code of people that have overcome that fault and thought, you know what, I do really love that area and I would love to retrain and go into the tech sector, because the more we hear it, the more people will actually take up training or take up a master's or a boot camp or whatever it may be they need to move into the tech sector. So yeah, I think there is that misconception about coming into tech, especially in an area like AI, that you have to have a certain background and a certain education level, and that you would have done that since you graduated from uni, and if you haven't done that, then you can't get in.
But interestingly, AI is really changing that, because you can now, the kind of the language that you're using to interact with these models is English language, or whatever your language is. You no longer need to be able to write C++ to be able to build something. You just need to interact with these models. You can interact with these models now in natural language, and you can build an AI model in that way. So it's really democratizing AI and jobs in AI at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, and so in terms of jobs in AI, I wanted to ask you just a little bit about your role at Graphcore and how you adapt to such fast shifts in the industry. So I wanted to ask you, we've spoken about this a little bit already. We said that the tech industry is dynamic and rapid shifts happen all the time. But how do you and your team adapt to such shifts at Graphcore and ensure that your hardware solutions remain relevant, and also that you continue to develop in your own career as well? As we mentioned, it's you spin a lot of plates to be able to do your job, basically. How do you and your team cope with that amount of rapid shifts in the industry?
I say that the most important thing, or the thing that I try to do, is kind of listen and learn as much as I can. So I do read quite a lot of blogs. I do subscribe to a lot of blogs on AI news, research, development. I listen to podcasts. I subscribe to a lot of different AI podcasts. I speak to a lot of people. I go to events, I go to the conferences, and I'm just trying to get a feel for what is going on and what are people doing and what are they using. And that's kind of how I just stay on top of everything. It's just a lot of information, but I'm kind of genuinely interested to know and understand it, so it doesn't feel like a chore. And then similarly for Graphcore, for our team, really we need to listen to the customers, listen to the users, listen to the model builders, and find out what are their problems and find out how we can, and work out how we can solve them. And we need to keep doing that. We need to be flexible. We need to be able to iterate, improve our software. It's kind of the same personal development wise and company development wise as well. I'd say you need to be flexible, adaptable, listen, learn. It's kind of that's what I would say anyway, that I feel like I need to do.
Yes, and sometimes that's landing yourself at the right company that allows you the time to do that as well, to develop in your own career, because I think sometimes it's so easy for us to disappear in our day jobs that you and your company kind of forget as well that you need to develop in your career to progress with all the projects within your company as well, and to advance them.
Yeah, I feel like it's really hand in hand. It's not just progression for yourself, and it's not for the company. It's like for the company to kind of get more out of me, I need to learn this and do this. Otherwise, like, we both benefit. It's mutual.
Definitely. Well, Helen, we are already out of time. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure and extremely timely as well. So I know a lot of our listeners are going to be really interested in this episode. So thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy day to come and have a chat with us today.
Thank you. It's been interesting. Thank you.
And to all of our listeners, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.